Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen news. We're going to be talking about Coramor, the Super Hornet, all the stuff that's happened this week. We've got new patches for Alpha 4.0.2, which is an open PTU. We've had an Inside Star Citizen talking about content-driven patches. We've got a little sneak peek for you. Love is in the air. Celebrate Coramor 2955 with Arena Commanders Duo Showdown mode, the How to Not Get a Date community contest, and the all-new two-person Anvil Super Hornet Mark II, and its deadly but devoted Heartseeker upgrade. Both are in-game now, the Super Hornet and Heartseeker upgrade. That Heartseeker upgrade is applicable, can be applied to any of the Mark II Hornets, and comes with a Heartseeker skin, as well as a bespoke dual ballistic Gatling. The Super Hornet Mark I Heartseeker, it's still the same beast. I suppose it's rarer now because they're not selling it anymore, but yeah, I think that's quite interesting. Really interested to know if people were excited by the Mark II Super Hornet or the Heartseeker this time around. Fight longer, hit harder, and fly stronger with the legendary new chapter in the Anvil Hornet line. The F7CM Super Hornet enhances the Mark II chassis with stronger shields, upgraded weaponry, and a dedicated gunner's seat. That's available from $220 in the RSI store, and it should be turning up in in-game shops by the end of May. So it's got that powerful ball turret at standard. It's got 4 size 3 weapons and 2 size 4 weapons. The 2 size 4 weapons on its wings. And it's got the sort of nose turret that can take 2 size 3s is sort of a military option, as it were. So the Super Hornet and the F7A Mark IIs can use those, and the rest of the Mark II line have to make use of a civilian version of the sort of nose turret. But I believe all the central modules for the Mark IIs are actually interchangeable between each of them. Also, with Coramor being around at the moment, we've got the Love Struck paints, which you can buy from the RSO website. There's some FPS armor and a starter pack to grab if you're interested, and even some packs of ships, but you can get all this stuff in game. Although I'm not 100% about the special skins. Like, sometimes they have this loot sort of turning up in loot boxes and other locations like executive hangars, things like that. But I'm not sure exactly what the loot pool is going to be when it comes to exclusive sort of Valentine's items, stuff like that. We'll have to wait and see. The final phase, Phase 3 of the Fight for Pyro, is live on the current live build of the game. Jump into the verse and make sure to complete Phase 1 and 2, which is still available, to get yourself an exclusive Pyro-themed Ripper SMG, which won't be wiped when we get sort of patch wipes or anything. It stays on your account. You only need to complete those first 2 phases, 6 missions of each, to get that reward, and that will stay up until 4.0.2 goes live, which I'm expecting by the end of the month, personally. Talking of Alpha 4.0.2, it's in open PTU. We've just had a new patch for that as well. They disabled courier missions, at least in the short term. There's also been further updates to help with load times in Pyro. Loads of bug fixes, so hopefully these things have been fixed, or at least partially fixed. Traveling to a marker, making a ship U-turn should happen a lot less. Some possible fixes for transit in some landing zones having no collision. Multiple mission locations are not loading interiors or having missing interiors. Weapons on the UI appearing to be powered off, or errors with power allocation. Performance degrading while interacting with the Mobi-Glass. Mission locations and the sort of narrative with missions being sort of incorrect and not matching up. When spawning ships at docking ports, the ship would spawn clipped into the geometry of the docking port. Salvage panels were yielding more RMC than expected. The Prowler's ladder was inaccessible. Party UI options got removed when you got disconnected from a match in Arena Commander. They also fixed 3 client, 3 server crashes, and a hybrid crash. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can get 4.0.2 into a much more playable state than the current live build by the end of the month. It is possible. They have been really focusing on trying to get stuff as performant and playable as possible. Such is the plan for the year. Talking about the plans for the year, we've had an Inside Star Citizen that just went, talking about the content-driven nature of the patches this year. So basically, less features, more playable is the idea. And specifically, part of the content they're pushing is more missions, more narrative events, an evolving story that is affected by player actions, starting with the stuff in 3.24, which was Save Stanton, and then moving on to Fight for Pyro, and then Supply or Die. There's this A story that's sort of moving ahead in narrative from patch to patch, and there's going to be monthly patches which expand out the more playable content, the more mission content, lots more stuff going on with Star Citizen. But also in around sort of April, we may be getting an additional sort of narrative arc that runs along simultaneous to this. Thinking about it, I'm actually expecting that narrative arc to eventually contain sandworms. But yeah, there's loads of these sort of narrative missions that we're going to be playing month to month, and they're going to expand phases week by week for some of these. Player actions are going to help evolve the story and these missions going forward, and these help build out the universe and content towards 1.0, and they're going to be reusing all of this sort of mission content and modules and stuff like that, but the narrative portion of it is largely one and done. It's sort of get involved now to get your special rewards, but they're not like losing any work by doing that. They're going to be using those parts for more missions and stuff in the future. You can also expect a lot of focus on stability, playability, bug fixes, expanding out what we have in game now, and having like new ships that make use of current features, things like that. Going back to 4.0.2, the next event and narrative set of missions is Supply or Die, and that is kind of a cross between phase 1 of Xenothreat and Jump Town, but in Pyro with a load of factional warfare also thrown in. We also had a comms dive, the second comms dive that CIG have done. Basically, they look at a load of questions that people are asking in the community and answer some of them. So they went, bam, let's have this second comms dive. One of the big things we learnt in that is that they're going to be releasing the Vault FPS weapons into the persistent universe relatively soon, but also there's loads more FPS weapons and armors planned for release later this year. Actually, I probably should have mentioned this when I was talking about Inside Star Citizen as well. There was a little sneak peek at the beginning there of the Perseus, which is one of my favourite ships, that sort of Corvette brawler, and yeah, that looks like it's going to be in game later this year, I would suspect. But also they showed off the Star Kitten racing suit and skin for the Pulse, both of which very cool. Talking about sneak peeks, there was also a sneak peek in the newsletter of a data pad with some Pyro branding. So the company Pyro, or Pyrotechnic Amalgamated, which the Pyro system is named after, but they are effectively a defunct company. There's a little touch to unlock on the screen and a caption of what's the code. So expect to see things like this, like more data pads around mission areas, and sort of you'll find giving deeper hints at lore and mission narrative, parts of puzzles and secrets, or just as an aid to storytelling. Boom! That's it for your news this week. A little round up there. Please tell me if you are playing in 4.0.2 in the Open PTU now. Are you enjoying that? When do you think it's going to be released? Do you think it's going to be sort of end of February, and then they're going to be boom, ploughing on to 4.0.3 early March, and then we'll have that released by the end of March. And I suppose also new narrative missions with those patches as well, as they sort of push forward. Is that what monthly patches means to you? Is that your expectation? Are you going to be picking yourself up the Heartseeker skin or a Mark II Super Hornet? There's a load of other ships on sale actually with the Coramor sale as well. It's pretty much any ship that they could chuck a sort of love-struck paint at, but also focusing largely on ones that players can either fly together or make sense to fly as a pair. Bit of a stretch, but it's marketing for Valentine's. But anyway, tell me what you think in the comments below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment for a chance to win a ship. This month we are giving away a Misc Fortune with some additional skins, but also a game package and lifetime insurance for that salvager. Yeah, comment on any of my videos made during this month to be in for a chance of winning that. You can also help support the channel by the join button underneath, or going to Patreon, stuff like that. But also maybe get yourself some NordVPN, nordvpn.com/BoredGamer, or use the links below. Get a massive discount. Use a VPN that I use. Makes you so good on the internet. I feel like I'm king of the internet, and maybe you can be king too. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.